You're the Pepsi generation, come and have a Pepsi day. Come on, come on, come on and taste the Pepsi way. Come on, come on, come on and have a Pepsi day. Wrap a thirsty smile around it, raise a Pepsi up and down it. Come on, come on, come on, come on, have a Pepsi day.
Why are women so happy about new Tickle antiperspirant? Is it because Tickle is the first roll-on with a big, wide ball? Is it because Tickle comes in 4 fresh fragrances? Or is it because Tickle helps keep you dry all day? Make yourself happy. Staying drier is nicer with a little Tickle.
Vroom, vroom, vroom. Today, so I have exciting story to tell about beautiful new Ford Mustang car. And inside car, boy and mother and shopping bag. And inside bag, box of post-rice crinkles. And inside box of post-rice crinkles.
Wow, Mom! Boy, oh boy! There's a Mustang car inside the rice crinkles.
Oh, no, dear. The rice crinkles are inside our Mustang.
But there is a Mustang inside the rice crinkles.
Oh, there is a Mustang inside the rice crinkles.
A Mustang just like ours.
And so, sugary rice crinkles give happy ending to story. Boy get Mustang, you do too, inside post-rice crinkles. Collect them all, convertible, hardtop, and fastback. Race with your friends. You go vroom, vroom when you get Mustang car free inside post-rice crinkles.
I'll give you $50 for those sneakers. Ah! $50. Okay?
You can have them. They're
Okay.
terrible.
It's to prove a point. Now, you wash in detergent alone, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's wash this sneaker in detergent alone and this one in the same detergent plus Clorox bleach. Now, see any cleaning difference?
The one I wash with my detergent is just dirty. The one washed with Clorox looks so clean.
Clorox Clean. People can see the difference.
The American Eagle. Goodyear's symbol for its all-American kind of radial tire. Goodyear is committed to product innovation. We introduced rayon cord in tires. We created the polyglass tire and the polysteel radial. And now the American Eagle with belts of Flex 10 cord instead of steel. Flex 10 is made from a flexible man-made aramid fiber that's pound for pound stronger than steel.
The tire for America, the American Eagle, the tire.
When can I pick up the pictures?
Thursday.
This Thursday. Okay, let me make a note of that.
You gonna write it down there?
Well, it's going to,
Oh,
yeah.
well, then let's say Tuesday.
You mean 2 days earlier?
No, 5
days later.
Mm-hmm.
I thought as much.
If this customer were at a Photomat store, we'd be introducing him to our brand new picture pickup promise. Photomat's way of telling you exactly when your pictures will be ready.
That quick?
Sure, and if it doesn't work out, you get a free roll of film.
Oh, no. You get in trouble for
It's
that.
no problem.
Huh?
It's a Photomat policy.
The Photomat picture pickup promise.
Is there a Photomat store around here?
What's this stuff? Some cereal. It's supposed to be good for you. Did you try it? I'm not gonna try it. You try it. I'm not gonna try it. Let's get Mikey. Yeah. He won't eat it. He hates everything. He likes it. Hey, Mikey.
When you bring life home, don't tell the kids it's one of those nutritional cereals you've been trying to get them to eat. You're the only one who has to know.
It's not too sweet. It's refreshing, crisp and neat. Canada Dry Ginger Ale. It's not too sweet. It's not too sweet. I repeat, it's not too sweet. Canada Dry cools your thirst. It's a taste that can't be beat.
It's not too sweet. It's a cold, refreshing treat. Canada Dry Ginger Ale. It's not too sweet.
Regular or diet, it's more refreshing because it's not too sweet.
I found a recipe you won't find in a cookbook, but it's sure nutritious and a real money saver, too. Take a quart of Carnation Instant Non-Fat Dry Milk. Add a quart of whole milk. Mix, chill, and serve. You get 2 quarts of fresh-tasting, low-fat milk and make a real savings on your milk bill. Carnation Instant Milk. Good for you and your budget, too.
This is Robert Hedges. Stay tuned for the second half of the Brady Bunch Hour, or the sweat hogs are gonna get you, see?
What's up, Cyberspace Cadets? That's right, it's Saturday. And you know what that means? It's time for Exelereighted Deconstruction with Excel and Attila the Hun. And in the room with me today is Attila the Hun and Mr. Excelerate himself.
Welcome, everybody. It's been a long time since we've actually done this show.
It has.
I think we needed the break, especially with all the chaos in the election, right? We found ourselves not even talking about what the show was supposed to be about.
Yeah.
And how could we? It's been, man, the end of 2020, dude. Like, oh, what a year. What a fucking year. And
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure 2021 is staged to not be a whole lot better.
No, what's happened is 2020 has become legal drinking age and is on a bender.
Yeah, exactly.
But hold my beer.
Hold my beer. Didn't say hold my beer. Hold my beer. It's very drunk already.
Yeah, dude. I mean, we were already gifted with that storming in the Capitol, which
Dude, that's starting to look
a lot
so
of
motherfucking glow in the dark.
Yeah, a lot of what we're going to talk about is going to lead into what's happening, the aftermath of that. I mean, everything just kind of... The cathedral has an excuse now. Like, it gave them an excuse to do what they were going to do anyway. And we all knew it was coming. But that was just the excuse.
Yeah, it was just an excuse that, I don't know. It's gonna be really bad, I think. But hey, you know.
Well, and the title of this stream is The Death of Liberalism. And it is actually my opinion that liberalism, and I'm talking about that in the classical sense, right? This Enlightenment idea that, you know, believes in things like objective truth, believes in things like, you know, limited government, believes in things like freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of assembly. That's institutionally dead in all our institutions now. And I'm not going to say Trump was like the great defender of this, right? But he certainly was acting as kind of a stopgap from this encroaching postmodern movement.
Whoa. Sorry, I'm hosting this because I forgot to earlier, guys. I suck.
Oh yeah, nobody's shilled. That's why nobody's here. People probably forgot this show happens.
I shilled on Twitter twice.
I shilled on Parler, but I don't have a whole lot of followers on Parler yet because I just created my account. Are you on Parler?
Yeah.
What's your
just
Parler,
go on.
friend? Is it just irate prostate?
Capital I, little r, number 8, and then capital P, ROST, and number 8. Irate prostate.
Followed.
Groovy.
Ah, gotcha.
Oh, now I'm getting all sorts of people on my
Nagasaki.
recommend list.
Nagasaki. There we go. What's up, D Live? We got people. We got one on D Live.
I'm
up,
over on
thumbs
D Live. I'm looking for other people at D Live. Hey, Nagasaki. Hello.
Salute.
Man, you're gonna get that Restream.io chat going,
I
where
got
it
it.
shows the chat for both D Live and well, see on your screen.
What do you want to look at it?
Oh, just like on the actual stream.
No, I don't usually do that.
Oh, well.
Do people do that?
Yeah, people will have the chat scrolling on the stream.
Dang it.
Hopefully nothing goes away.
Yeah, I'm still here. God damn it.
Is he?
Yeah.
You were still here, then you came and said,
I know,
I'm still
then I
here,
yeeted
then you
myself.
vanished.
No. All right, see if I can see that.
Yep, I can see that.
I just sent it past. Salty Cracker Restream. Hey, is he live right now?
I have no idea.
Well, that's what Nagasaki's saying. But yeah, he's calling home pretty fast.
Well, the only reason the Salty Cracker didn't take off before was because YouTube yeeted it.
Yeah, I don't even know what's going to happen with YouTube. In fact, surprisingly enough, YouTube has been the least censorious of all the major platforms.
Well, you know what? Part of me wants to kill, well, not kill, but private everything on this thing and make it a hobby page. You know, the irate prostate thing. So I can monetize and do the hobby stuff, and I think I can, make it profitable in a way.
Yeah, possibly.
YouTube is crazy, Nagasaki.
Yeah, just what really sucks is nobody really knows what the rules are because, well, actually we do know what the rules are. The rules is you can't upset the cathedral too much, right? And by the cathedral, and I've been using that term a lot more since watching Michael Malice again, but we mean the institutions like media, academia, and the political class that decide what is true and what is not. Right? They deem themselves the moral arbiters of truth. So if I get on here and I say, in my opinion, there was a massive amount of election fraud, that is not an opinion I'm allowed to have anymore on YouTube, and they will take the video down. And it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter the evidence that I have. And it is incredibly indicative of the postmodern power principle. We've talked about this before, that postmodernism, the two themes that really roll into critical theory are the postmodern knowledge principle, which is they don't believe in objective truth, and then the power principle, which is the idea that whatever the truth is really just what is dictated by the people that have the power to do so. And they take that and they use that not as a bad thing. They take that as a calling sign to control the truth in order to direct the narrative of society in the direction that they support.
Okay, so it's just that's a really horrifying idea.
Well, and we're seeing it right before our, like, once you understand those two principles, that they don't believe in objective truth and that they think that what is truth is just whatever the power structure says is true, then it makes sense that they're going to try to take over the power structure and deem what is true and what isn't based on the outcomes they wish to have.
Well, it's just arbitrary. Because
it is because
situationally based.
Well, it's arbitrary if you're looking at it from our lens, which is we grew up under these Enlightenment liberal ideas where we do believe in objective truth. We do believe that it is something desirable and that we can examine reality in a way that you and I can both agree that something is objectively true. But if you don't believe that, and you believe that this is all truth is a way to uphold the current power structures, then it makes perfect sense that if you have this ideology that is based on some sort of racial communism, that you would want to control the narrative of what is true and what isn't. I mean, it's exactly why they have no qualms, right? They don't look in the mirror and see any problem with how they were promoting, supporting, cheering on violence, so long as that violence and rioting was due to causes they agree with. But as soon as it's a cause they do not agree with, all of a sudden it's the worst thing ever. It's an attack on everything we care about. These people are beyond repair. You have calls for every Republican to resign. I mean, this is the end game for them. And pretty soon there's not going to be a whole lot to stop them. The courts, even right-wing courts, they've proven to be ineffective. And what we're going to see over the next 4 years is a lot of appointees from the left-wing legal academy, which has turned into another vehicle to push their agenda. Like, they learn the law just well enough, but then they learn the law so that they can get into a position to make legal arguments that are actually against what the law is supposed to be, and support basically the implementation of critical theory on a wide scale.
Well, okay, it's also a convenience for consolidation of power. Critical theory is a really convenient tool to get people to capitulate.
Yep, absolutely, which is why I think the Democratic Party has latched onto it, because I don't think a lot of them even truly believe it. Like, if you look back at like Kamala Harris's history, right? She's got her pronouns in her bio now, but I don't think she's really a true believer in any of this stuff. She just sees this as a vehicle to maintain power.
95% of these people don't view this as what's the word I'm looking for? They look at it as a means to an end rather than a belief system. 95% of these people. Why do you think they're so ardent about it? They don't actually believe in it. They just want you to believe in it.
Yeah. Well, eventually the true believers, right, they're going to get their way, because they hold the power to decide who's in and who's out. I mean, deeming somebody a racist is the easiest thing ever under critical theory, right? All they got to do is slightly step out of line, and then it's just you don't even have to, sound the alarm, really, right? Everybody just knows what to do when somebody needs to be excommunicated from the church.
Hey, have y'all run across this phrase now that's starting to pop up? Whataboutism?
Yes.
Yeah, that's happened. That's been around for a while,
but it's creeping into the news vernacular. Fran Stelter being the main one.
So it's usually whataboutism 99% of the time is a way to deflect accusations of hypocrisy.
Right.
So I think there is
Good
like
example.
a useful thing, like if we're talking about one thing, right? Like if we're talking about it's like I know that why it's creeping in the news, because of the Capitol riot. So everybody's going to the news and saying you guys have no right to say anything about this, because if it was a Black Lives Matter protest, for instance, a cause you agree with, you would have supported it. And then they say, well, that's whataboutism.
Yeah.
And it's not, right? It's like, you of all people, like, I don't need lecturing from you. Like, I understand. Like,
right.
I said last night, like, I thought it was dumb. I obviously knew that the press was going to be very negative. It was going to lead to things like the banning of Donald Trump from Twitter. Like, I knew nothing but bad things were going to come of it, and that the right, it's like it's ceding the moral high ground by using leftist tactics.
They're still playing on the same field where everything is rigged. And I'm tired of watching everybody play on the field where everything is rigged. It's time to stop playing the fucking game. Take your toys and go home. Don't give them the ground.
Yeah. And I mean, I just feel like that's what they did, right? They gave them some ground to further enact what I would call tyrannical policies. I mean, the worst part is like, we look around and they're all acting in lockstep, and it's because they all are ideologically being guided by this same critical philosophy. You know, they when with less than 24 hours after that happened, right, and they banned Donald Trump, Google and Apple removed Parler from their app store, right? And Parler is actually, for I know they say it's a free speech platform, but they actually have way more strict moderation tools or moderation of what you can post, right? Like, there's no porn on Parler.
Yeah, no, you can't even put anime titties on Parler.
Yeah, it is actually like fairly heavily moderated.
Run by Christians, dude.
It doesn't
What do you
let.
expect?
That's why I say go to Gab, guys.
Yeah, the issue is that if any real competition to Twitter happened, you would actually see people going to someplace else to get their information, and they can't control it. I mean, it's really quite amazing, because you even have Amazon Web Services threatening to take Parler, you know, take away Parler's web hosting, and the only way Parler can get around that is basically to say you have to have the same policies and ban the same people as Twitter does, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you don't act in unison with all the other platforms, then we're not going to host you. And at that point, then what's the point of even having it? If it's nobody's going to use it, if it's just going to do the same thing that the other platforms do, so you have no actual competition. It's kind of funny how the left supports all of this whenever what you're dealing with is a corporate oligopoly. That's usually something that they don't like, right? Monopolies, and
they're
usually very pro antitrust.
Big
And
business.
I honestly think there's an antitrust case to be made, actually.
Oh, there's
right
a
now,
huge one.
with all of these with just seemingly in unison, acting like all these social media platforms doing the exact same thing.
Oh, there is an antitrust case. It's not going to be fought. It's not even going to be mentioned. It's a massive antitrust case. Right now, everybody's scrambling to protect themselves from other things legally. It's not going to get noticed right now.
Well, and so the FTC that would usually look into things like antitrust, it's going to be controlled by Democrats, which are cozied up to big tech, right? Like, I know they say like, oh, we're going to break up big tech, but their argument is like, if you don't do more to stifle our opposition's voices, we're going to attack you, right? So it's almost like maybe big tech didn't necessarily want to do that. Like, I'm sure all the employees did, but the people making the decision didn't. But they're like, yeah, if we don't just do this, then we're going to have problems with the government. So let's just be censorious so that this new democratic regime doesn't try to do anything to break us up. And before we go on, I actually do want to say on YouTube, people are trickling in. I said, what's up, Tennessee Marine, Tazzy, Richo8181.
Richo!
And Ray, hey Ray, Man Squatch.
Yep. Dark Star, 6909, and Man Squatch.
One of my favorite other super smart guys on the internet is Man Squatch.
And Memes of Destruction, of course.
Good old memes.
Fucking memes doing the Saitama workout from One Punch guy getting cut.
I was saying, looking good, brother. Keep going, man. Fucking, like, thumbs up, dude. Fucking, yeah.
The only question I have for him is, does he now have the power to defeat any foe with one punch?
You know exactly how to hit him.
And for anybody, for anybody in the chat that doesn't know the joke I'm making, and this is a complete tangent to what we talk about, but One Punch Man is an anime where this guy can defeat everybody in one punch. And when he was asked what his secret was, it was basically like, I run 5 miles every day, and then I wake up and I do 100 crunches and 100 push-ups. Right? Like, it was just general strength training. It wasn't anything like that. It was that big of a deal. But obviously, if you do that every day for hundreds of days, you're probably going to get in pretty good fucking shape. Oh, you haven't gone bald yet? All right, yeah. I don't know. Try just shaving your head and see if that gives you the power.
He just, the only thing that gives him is the power of youthful appearance. Memes looks like he's about 16 when he shaves his head.
Yeah.
If he gets his hair real short, he looks really young.
Baby-faced.
Uh-huh. Poor
Gotcha.
boy. Poor boy.
I'm actually remarkably baby-faced, but I have a Duck Dynasty beard right now, so I'm good.
There you go. There you go.
Anyway, also, now that everybody's here, I did want to just kind of recap on what we talk about here. So when we're talking about critical theories, the critical part, it all originated in the 1940s and 50s with the Frankfurt School. These were disillusioned Marxists that they were upset that fascism happened, and they looked at Western countries and how they weren't, they were pretty prosperous, and that was causing workers to not, rise together and bring bring the social revolution that they thought was inevitable. So they looked into other ways of doing it, and they came up with critical theories where all they did is criticize shit that was going on in the current system to convince people that the system needed overthrown so that they could have their Marxist revolution. And one of the ways they did this is by looking at social issues, particularly racial issues, right? So they figured if they could sow the social division, that could be enough to bring about the change. Then you have to fast forward a little bit to something that's somewhat unrelated, to the postmodernist, right? This would be like Derrida, Foucault, Jean-Francois Lyotard. These people, they looked at society and they decided that, there's no such thing as objective truth. Like, all knowledge is just a reflection of power. Foucault's big thing was, to decide whether or not something is actually true misses the point, right? Effectively what happens is the truth is just whatever the dominant power structure says is true. In which I've said millions of times, like, I kind of have some sympathies with that. Like, I understand kind of how you could get to that point, right? How we just kind of assume what's true based on what the people that are controlling society say is true.
Yeah, it makes me viscerally angry.
Well, and that is, but that's an observation I think you could actually make that about how people deal with what is true and what isn't true, right?
Yeah.
But
it makes me viscerally angry.
But right, so from then, when I was talking about it earlier, the biggest things to carry forward to this current postmodern rendition is the postmodern knowledge principle, which is that objective truth is not only impossible, but not even desirable. And then the power principle, which is, like I just said, where the truth is just a reflection of what the dominant power structure says is the truth, right? It's actually, it's like a conspiracy without having to name the conspirators.
History is written by the winners.
Yeah, very similar to that sort of thing. So the current rendition, and like I said, I'm not going to get into super detail, but this is where people kind of married up the conflict theory, where they are looking at particularly race, but other intersecting identity groups. They married that up with these postmodernist concepts, except unlike the postmodernist, which the postmodernist, it couldn't be applied to anything, because then it would actually crumble itself under its own, it would crumble under its own framework, right? Like, it could not be prescriptive. It was, like Atima said, it was just bitching for the sake of bitching, right?
Yeah, it's the cult of Karen.
Yeah. And these new postmodernists were like, well, we can't do this, right? We have to apply it. And we have to come up with things like, we have to understand that the impacts of racial injustice are real, right? So they come up with these axioms that are actually pretty arbitrary, but it's it's like arguing from a conclusion, right? They're using postmodern tools to get to where they want to be.
It's deductive instead of inductive reasoning.
And while this stuff all kind of arose in the 80s and 90s, as I would say Douglas Murray says, somewhere around 2016, these ideas left the academy on a train and then just accelerated well past the train station and has just gone. I mean, it's widespread. We're seeing it everywhere.
It's tribbles. It's tribbles.
I'm gonna say I think it's one, right? I think we are in an era where we need to accept that the dominant institutional narrative is going to be a postmodern one.
Mm-hmm. But I think the institutions are going to lose their grasp now that everybody knows what they're doing.
Well,
obviously we don't need fucking schools, do we?
Yeah. Well, so
right, they've just given us a year to show us we don't need them.
Exactly, man. I mean, so they've made their own case for them. They're fucking stupid, man.
Well,
public school is just, it's useless. Obviously.
Yeah, you would not believe how many angry parents I hear when I go to like the doctor's office or the grocery store.
No shit.
And their kids aren't with them, and you should hear them like, they don't know how to multiply. They can't write in cursive. They can't sign their name they don't have a signature, like this kind of stuff. I'm hearing parents bitch at each other or to each other about it in line. It's crazy.
Yeah, and they tell you all these inventions that aren't real.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and the point I was trying to get at is like, yeah, I think they will, but I think up until now, and I feel like what Donald Trump was, and I don't think he necessarily thought of himself that way, but I think what a lot of people saw him as a kind of like a stopgap, right?
Yeah.
So we have this culture war going on, and he was sitting there just kind of being a barrier to this postmodern movement that is taking over. Now that he's gone, there's nothing to stop it. Like there's nobody in power that can act as kind of a foil to this movement.
Yeah.
Yeah, Carl is talking about real systemic racism versus this is the issue, is that liberalism has its own concept of social justice, right? And it's done a lot to look like objectively we used to have systemic racism, like actual laws on the books that were designed to oppress certain groups, right? We had
Right.
Jim Crow was a real thing, right?
Living v. Virginia, yes.
We used to have, and to some extent we probably do have places where the police department is filled with people that are racist, but under liberalism we've done nothing but try to de-emphasize the importance of race to the point where the ultimate goal is colorblind. It's a colorblind approach to race where we judge everybody as an individual. And liberalism doesn't care about aggregate outcomes, right? Disparate impact. Unfortunately, under this postmodern concept, is they say outright that racism is completely normal. The system is racist because it was designed by white people, and because of that, everything that happens within the system can only be done to uphold what the system was supposed to do to begin with, which is protect white supremacy. And proof of that is anytime there's a disparate outcome between groups, you know that racism is happening. And they say this with no qualms, right? Like, even if you know for a fact, right, that the crime rate of one group is higher than the crime rate of another, depending on how you separate them out. Even if you know this, they won't look any further than there's a disparity, and they will assume that, well, it's not that the crime rate's really higher, it's just that the laws are racist. And the system is racist.
Which is the dumbest way to resolve an issue.
Exactly, and that ultimately that's going to be the demise. But I see bills being passed with nobody to stop them that try to deal with this in a way that is not going to work, right? Where we decide that we're not going to arrest people for violent crimes, right? Or we're just going to arbitrarily let people out of prison to satisfy some sort of quota, because we assume that if the numbers, like the percentages, aren't even between races, that the system's racist. So what they're going to do is, it's God, what is it? It's they're treating the symptoms, not the disease.
They're not even treating the symptoms. They're treating topical issues and calling it disease treatment.
Yeah, I mean it's the same idea of like the easiest way to make everybody equal is to just make everybody poor, right?
Trouble with the Trees. It's a song by Rush. Irate knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Explains everything.
Yeah. The trees are all kept equal by hatchet, axe, and saw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, treating everybody the same is racist. That is. I think that from the postmodern perspective, what they actually believe is that it's impossible to actually be treating everybody the same because racism is so ingrained in society. It's very conspiratorial in that way, right? Like, you're racist, but you don't know it.
Yeah, that's very Scientologist. That's very like Mooney cult kind of shit, dude. Like you're doing like real psyops to get there.
Yeah.
Well, and the increasing number of people buying into this. Obviously, like our mainstream media, for the most part, is just completely on board with all of this, right? Black Lives Matter can do no wrong. Apparently, this is the worst gaslight that we're going to have to deal with even more, is this concept that Black Lives Matter is not a political movement.
Yeah, I'm getting tired of that. It's an outright lie. Like outright.
It's up there with Antifa. Just stands for anti-fascist.
Yeah, or Antifa is an idea.
All Antifa.
Fuck Antifa. Sorry, I've been What? I'm so lost.
Memes, I wish it was just an overcorrection, but it's more than that. It's the implement of a new moral and political philosophy that is anti-liberalism.
Yeah, free will is a thing that doesn't exist to these people.
Well, and there's that whole gaslight shit. Like Kamala Harris used to celebrate Kwanzaa back before it existed, or before it was really done by black people.
Yeah,
she's not black. Her dad is a white Jamaican. What the fuck?
Yeah, her mom is
Indian,
like from India.
Yeah,
feather, not feather.
Kamala Harris is certainly an example of somebody that's just using this as an opportunist for power.
Yeah.
I feel like that's for a lot of the Democratic Party, but it leads itself so well into like this.
She's
this
the
framework.
most like Hillary Clinton of any candidate I've ever seen. She's like Hillary 2.0.
She's worse.
Yeah,
she's worse.
Yeah, fair to say. Yeah.
No, she's
doesn't.
worse.
She doesn't have the body count following her yet.
You don't know that.
No, she has. Well, yeah, we don't know how many people she's infected.
I mean, there's all those people that she didn't represent to go against the Catholic Church for child molestation that committed suicide that we have no count of. right?
Yeah, I was kind of making a joke there about the Clinton body count.
Yeah, but she was getting paid under the table by the Catholic Church to not prosecute priests and to help them move them around. Oh, whoops! Inconvenient truth. That was my chair.
She destroyed the California school system. She destroyed it with that truancy law. Because every school district in California, after she passed that for that one city, every school district in California started pushing for it in every other county.
I mean, it sounds good on the surface, right? You know?
No, it sounds fucking terrible.
Well, no. It forces parents to parent their children, is the idea behind it. But it don't work that way. It just, kids are going to do what they're going to do, and parents are going to get, put in jail. It's like, that doesn't make any sense either.
None of it makes any fucking sense. But I guess
that's a great factoid. Mansquatch says, Kamala Harris's dad's name is Donald J. Harris. That's funny.
Maybe if she had lots of abortions for her rise to power, that's... Yeah, like I said before, it's going to be a very black-pilled stream. I don't have a whole lot of hope for us not being just surrounded with policy and just even legal decisions, especially social media. They're like the way they moderate. It's all going to be based on these critical theories. And I mean, what we're seeing right now, like the reason they banned Donald Trump is it comes from this Herbert Marcuse's idea of repressive tolerance. There's an essay, actually, I'll see if I can find it and I'll link it in the chat. It is very long. And what it does is it goes and talks about this liberal idea of tolerance where, people are allowed to say and assemble and do whatever they want, right? So long as it just stays in the realm of speech and doesn't actualize itself into some sort of violence, right? And he makes this lengthy argument that comes to the conclusion that some ideas are so sinister and evil that in order for the right ideas to, which, that's going to be decided by the critical theorist, what ideas are right and what are wrong, in order for the right ideas to not be overshadowed, we have to repress the wrong ideas in the name of tolerance. Right.
We have to kill in the name of peace.
Mansquatch, my uncle saw it too. It was he used to love B-24 bombers.
So that's what they're doing is, so Donald Trump is getting on and saying that, like, I'm not going to go to the inauguration. I still think the election was stolen, right? That was his opinion. And they're like, well, that's inciting violence. And they're saying that because, well, if people believe this, that's the wrong idea. And we can't move forward with the right ideas.
No.
People can believe these wrong ideas.
No.
Because Donald Trump actually never said anything that incited violence. And
right.
I'm sorry, but I have a strict standard. Like, he can say things that are going to, if people believe it, it's going to make them angry. It's going to make them pissed off. And I don't care if it's right or wrong. Like, it's not up to, I don't think it's up to anybody except for the people listening to determine if that statement is true or false. And the strict standard is you're only inciting violence if you're telling people to go do violent things. And he was not doing that. In fact, he did the opposite of that. He came out and said, go home, right? We're the party of law and order. Which is more than the left did all year for the riots for different BLM protests, right? Almost nobody would come out and condemn it, right? Joe Biden says Antifa is just an idea.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Chris Cuomo Who said protests have to be peaceful?
Okay, well, I'm going to level a thing out here because I never really got mad at the violence of protests when it came to BLM. I got angry at the looting because that's not an American tradition.
Right.
But if you think Americans are known for their like demure peacefulness, you're a retard. Up until the early 1900s, Christmas and New Year's Eve had fairly high death tolls in America because we did shit like get drunk and shoot guns in the air and light fireworks and run around people's houses in the middle of the night and shit. Okay? So America has always been kind of this wild, unruly place. And the fact these people are trying to turn it into Europe isn't going to work so well because that's like, we have 300 years worth of American culture now. We are an established nation with our established culture. We also have our established bloodlines of people that are just, they're fully American. And with that comes a whole lot of fuck right the fuck off, I'm going to go have fun, get the fuck out of my face.
Yeah, and we have a long history of when we're aggrieved of the government. Like, we have grievances against the government that we take it to the seat of government.
Yeah.
So this idea that storming the Capitol was like completely unprecedented. I'm pretty sure the Black Panthers did it in like the 60s.
Dude, BLM and the Women's March did it this year.
I know they did.
And last year.
They attempted on the Kavanaugh protest, right? They attempted to breach the door of the Supreme Court. The only difference is that the Supreme Court's door is pretty big time. Like, there's not a whole lot of ways into that building.
No.
Like, had they wanted to go into the Capitol Bowl, they would have gotten in, is what I'm getting at. It just happened to be a different building with a much harder way to access it. But yeah, I mean, this is what I'm talking about narratives, and it really does suck that the right can't do what the left does and get away with it. But that's the reality of what we're dealing with. Like, we can't play the same game as the left does. We just can't do it.
No,
and what's funny is
we have a far more permanent and final solution on the right for when you try to fuck with people's heads and their freedom. Like, it's in the DNA of being an American. We are the country that roots for the underdog. How many countries do you see where the underdogs are the heroes? Not many, but our underdogs are who we root for normally. We are also one of the only nations that has a patriotic prison population. This is a very unique place, and they are using very crappy, old hat methods to try to create something different out of this very unique place. And I'm terrified of how unsuccessful it's going to be. Because I know what that means.
Carl said the only reason people were in the Capitol building is because somebody wanted them inside the Capitol building. There's certainly something to be said about how there's 2,300 Capitol Police that have a limited area that they have to patrol, yet they were completely unprepared for what happened in DC that day. And to be another thing we talked about last night is that there were 300,000 to 1 million people there. Like, I don't know. I've heard lots of different estimates, but there were a shit ton of people there.
Well, in the total of DC, I've heard 3 million.
Yeah. The number of people that actually tried to go into the Capitol is relatively small of all the people that were there. Unlike what you see from mainstream media, whenever left-wing groups promote violence, you've mostly seen universal condemnation from the right. And I use the term the right very loosely because we have this issue here. This is also part of the reason I wanted to call it the death of liberalism, is that these left liberals, right? And I'm talking about people that believe in liberalism. They just have a different idea. Like, they're people that they support, like, environmental protections. They support programs to help, the needy, the underprivileged, things like that. Ultimately, they don't object to capitalism. They believe in objective truth, right? They believe in all the tools of liberalism. They just think government should do a little bit, like a lot more than what your typical right-winger would do, right? And that for a long time, I think, was the paradigm in the United States of left versus right. Like, we kind of agreed on a lot of things, and there was just these niche issues that we disagreed with. When you introduce this new postmodern idea of, like, everything being inherently racist and that liberalism is the problem, then you create a new divide. And I just see too many of these left liberals trying to sit in the middle and try to think like, oh, well, there's some truth to what this new, more radical movement wants to do. And they sit by and they say, like, it's almost like they have their ears, like their fingers in their ears. Like, they don't want to hear it, that these are destructive and that things you hold dear, like freedom of speech, are going to go away if you continue to let this movement go rampant.
Well, we have... Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was saying, we have an entire generation of people that don't understand what cause and effect is now. So they don't have the ability. They've never been shown how to gauge what an effect on what the effects of their actions are going to be.
Yeah, they kind of like lay things into, like, it doesn't. It's the whole the ends justify the means thing, right? Postmodernism is 100% about that. Why liberalism is not, right? The means are the end to itself in liberalism. So, like, it's the thing, like, if you're looking at doing things objectively and fairly, that you might get results you don't like, but you're still upholding the principle. With this postmodernist thing, it's all that matters is the ends, and whatever methods they have to do to get the end they want is justified so long as they get that end. And that's just that is a terrible way to run a society, in my opinion. I mean, that is the definition of authoritarianism.
Mm-hmm.
They do whatever they want to get the end they desire.
Well, it leads to a very unstable place to be. If you don't have any kind of boundaries, I'm moving to fucking Japan someday, I think. I don't know. This place is fucking crazy.
Poland.
Okay, yeah.
Poland is going to be like the bulwark of freedom here pretty soon.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Well, it's not like they haven't learned a lot of really hard lessons.
Yeah, no shit.
You know what? Dark starts talking about Q. I kind of see Q as the reactionary movement against postmodernism, right? Like, they're almost the same thing, but it's the reaction to it.
Psyop.
It's a glow in the dark.
Yeah, quite possibly. I never bought into it. The biggest thing is, I think the mainstream media gives it way more credit than it actually deserves. Like,
maybe
Q is just like a bunch of, like, just tinfoil hat people that like to explore these crazy ideas, and they're just wrong all the time. I don't think that Q has nearly as much power as they like to. At least the way they like to portray it in the media. Once again, I think most respected right wingers are against Q. Like, they don't support that.
Well, I don't support or disavow or anything. I don't really know anything about it. I do know that we have a weird, like, insider club cult problem with our leadership, because Bohemian Grove is not a conspiracy theory, guys. So, there are some things that we really do need to pay attention to. I think Q is being used as a way to distract from the things we actually need to pay attention to. But, I don't know. I think it's... a conveniently placed bauble.
Yeah. You know what? I'm just sitting here and I'm using right and left, and I want to go back to something that I've said. The war is not right and left. It's liberal versus anti-liberal. And we also need to take back the word liberal. We don't need a fucking new word like Sargon said, like liberalist, right? We need to take back the word liberal as the political and guiding philosophy from the Enlightenment that led to the creation of the Western world, right? More people have prospered. Like, we have done more to eliminate actual racism under liberal principles than any other society in history. Like, liberalism works. It's a good idea. Like, we can argue on, you know, within that context, but we can't let this new like I said, critical theory, postmodernist bullshit overwrite and take over the dominating framework as to how it's actually the way we deal with conflict in society.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this critical theory approach it does not work. It makes things like the rise of people being white nationalists are actually people that are just like, okay, fine. If you're going to view race that way, we're just going to turn it upside down and do things to support white people, right? And do everything in the context of race for white people.
Okay, it's not even for white people, though. Look at the way they use it. It's for people of affluence or comfort within their family circles. Okay, why don't we, we'll wrap it up.
Yep. We're actually gonna wrap up this stream, guys. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. I think I will probably go live on my channel in about an hour.
Oh, good, because I gotta get up and walk around.
And just have a random talk. We will use the Knights of the Coffee Table Discord. I will provide a link to the chat. And anybody that just wants to come talk about current events and just if they agree with me that this postmodern movement, it's going to take over. And the new battlegrounds are going to be drawn not left versus right. It's going to be drawn liberal versus anti-liberal. And I'm pretty sure anti-liberal is winning, right? So we have an uphill battle to climb.
Exactly.
Okay, I think you're right, but I think that's the only way to really appreciate the freedom that you have.
All right, family.
Because the things you don't fight for are not worth having. So anyway, you guys, let's all have a good night.
Tomorrow I will be doing Frosted Glass on Ice Cream Interview at 5 p.m. Eastern, and I'll put out some promos on that. And I apologize, y'all. I just started feeling just kind of I need to lay down, and I apologize. So that's on me, y'all.
Totally understand it, dude. Even I've been there, and I'm much younger than you are.
Thanks.
Me too. You're good, brother.
All right, fam.